Стой и не шевелись. Я буду тебя сейчас бить.
Kostya Tszyu is a well-known boxer, the absolute world champion among professionals according to 3 boxing associations. He rightfully took his place in the history of boxing and is remembered by his fans. Kostya Tszyu, what has become of the world boxing legend? Konstantin Tszyu was born on September 19, 1969, in the Russian city of Serov, Sverdlovsk region. His father worked at an ironworks, and his mother was a nurse. He also has a younger sister, Olga. The boxer inherited his name from his grandfather, a Korean who came to the Soviet Union from China in the early 20th century. Kostya was an active and quarrelsome child, so at the age of 9, his father took him to a boxing club. Although most of the kids there were older than Kostya, within 6 months he started defeating them in the ring. After a year and a half of classes, the boy started training for the USSR national junior team. After graduating from high school in 1986, Tszyu entered the Sverdlovsk Engineering and Pedagogical Institute. However, he left his studies in February 1987, focusing on sports. And in 1986 and 1987, Kostya became the USSR junior champion. In the late 80s, the boxer began to grow his famous braid to create his own distinctive look. Because of the hairstyle, he had problems on the national team. He was asked to cut his hair before serious competitions, and the coaches of the national team had to accept the braid. In 1988, Kostya went to the Olympics in Seoul. He reached the quarterfinals but lost to the future champion from the GDR, Andreas Sulov. In the same year, Tszyu, with the rank of private, was assigned to the support battalion of the Kalinin Higher Military Command School of Communications of the KGB of the USSR in a role. At the same time, he continued to practice boxing and competed in various tournaments. In 1989, Kostya Tszyu won a gold medal at the European Championships, and a year later won the Goodwill Games. According to the boxer, in the late 80s, he used his boxing skills once on the street, when he fought with a taxi driver on his way to the airport. After that, Tszyu learned to control himself in ordinary life. In 1991, the athlete won gold medals at the European and World Championships, after which he received an offer to turn professional and move to Australia. In total, in the amateur ring, Tszyu won 270 out of 282 fights. Before leaving for the Green Continent, Kostya proposed to a girl, Natalia, who he was just dating at the time. They met in a popular bar in Serov and became friends. They went to the ice rink, to the pool, they went skiing together. Due to the tight competition schedule of the athlete, they couldn't meet often. Therefore, the offer to go with him to Australia and get married was a complete surprise for the girl. The real feelings came after the departure, as they struggled with the difficulties of living in another country. In January of 1992, Tszyu, together with Natalia, flew to Sydney and later received Australian citizenship. There he was given the nickname Thunder from Down Under. Already in March, his first professional fight against Darryl Hiles took place, in which Tszyu won in less than 2 minutes. For that fight, the athlete received about $50,000. In 1993, Kostya and Natalia flew back to Serov to get married there. In their marriage, they had 2 sons, Timofey and Nikita, and a daughter, Anastasia. Both sons are boxers. Tim is a professional boxer, and Nikita is an amateur. The boxer won his next 12 fights. In January of 1995, he fought with Jake Rodriguez, and after 6 rounds became the new IBF World Champion. 6 months later, Tszyu fought against Roger Mayweather. The fight was very even and it lasted all 12 rounds. At the end of the fight, the judges awarded the victory to Kostya. In late 1995, Tszyu fired his promoter Bill Morty, who sued the boxer for compensation in the amount of several $millions. After receiving the champion title, Tszyu's fees increased to 7 figures. The next fight against Hugo Pineda was supposed to take place in Colombia, but Tszyu refused to go there because of the ongoing civil war in the country. The IBF announced the possibility of depriving him of the title, but in the end, he managed to get the match transferred to Australia. The fight took place in 1996, and already in the first round, the Colombian knocked Kostya down. However, for the remaining 11 rounds, Tszyu completely controlled the fight, knocking out the opponent to win the fight. Tszyu then defeated Corey Johnson by knockout in the 4th round and South African Jan Bergman by technical knockout in the 6th round. He earned a reputation as the strongest boxer of the first welterweight. In the next fight against Puerto Rican Leonardo Mas, Kostya Tszyu knocked the opponent down 3 times, but the referee decided that the 3rd knockdown was the result of a blow delivered after the bell. The Athletic Commission recognized the technical draw and retained Tszyu's IBF title. Later, Tszyu's manager made an objection, and the result was nullified. The draw was crossed out. In 1997, Tszyu's first professional defeat happened in the fight against Vince Phillips. In the 10th round, the referee declared Phillips' victory by technical knockout. After losing the title, Kostya plunged into depression. In addition, some partners and sponsors turned away from him, and the interest of the media and fans decreased. However, thanks to the support of his family, he was able to start his journey again and consistently defeated 4 opponents, and then met with Miguel Angel Gonzalez in the fight for the WBC title in the first welterweight division. Tszyu dominated the entire fight until in the 10th round, his opponent asked the referee to stop the fight. In February of 2000, Tszyu knocked out Amid Santos in the 8th round, and in July, he entered the ring against the former multiple champion in several weight categories, Julio Cesar Chavez. The intense battle ended with the victory going to Kostya. In February 2001, a fight took place between the WBC title holder Kostya Tszyu and WBA title holder Sharmba Mitchell, in which the Australian of Russian origin won by technical knockout. Tszyu then defended his titles against Akte Urkal, whose jaw was broken during the fight. For his fight, Tszyu received $4 million. In November 2001, a fight for the title of absolute champion in the first welterweight division took place between Kostya Tszyu and Zab Judah. Kostya had to cope with the enormous pressure before the start of the fight. The entire elite of modern American boxing, led by Mike Tyson, came out to support Judah. After losing in the first round, Tszyu rallied and delivered a crushing blow at the end of the 2nd round. Judah got up but immediately fell, and the referee stopped the fight. When Judah came to his senses, he protested violently, but the result remained unchanged. For the fight with the American, Kostya earned $1.5 million. In 2002, he fought with a boxer from Ghana, Ben Taki, which lasted 12 rounds and ended with a victory for Tszyu. In 2003, Kostya entered the ring against Jesse James Leija. The opponent refused to continue the fight because of a suspected rupture of the eardrum. In November 2004, the second fight between Tszyu and Sharmba Mitchell took place. By the end of the 3rd round, Mitchell had already been knocked down 3 times. When the American fell another time, the referee didn't begin the count, recording an early victory for Tszyu. In the same year, the documentary Kostya Tszyu, B No. 1, came out. On June 4, 2005, a fight against Ricky Hatton took place in Manchester. Hatton, nicknamed the Hitman, imposed his style on Kostya. In addition, the English judge allowed Hatton to fight dirty. In the 8th round, after a blow below the belt, Tszyu realized that the fight was not going according to plan, and in the break between rounds 11 and 12, Kostya's corner took him out of the fight. Later, Kostya said that he was also affected by the time of the fight. He did not train his body to box at 2 a.m., and the Brit was faster and more resilient. The fight brought Tszyu $5 million and was his last. However, he only announced his retirement 3 years later. In his professional career, Kostya had 34 fights, of which he lost only 2. Tszyu scored 14 victories over the former and current world champions, and 11 of them were defeated by knockout. The short, stocky boxer Kostya Tszyu was a very sharp and fast fighter. At the same time, his blows were distinguished by incredible strength. He literally confused his opponents and forced them to go into blind defense. The Russian-Australian won most of his fights by knockouts. At the time of the end of his sports career, Tszyu was ranked 2nd in the Forbes ranking of the richest Russian athletes. Surprisingly, Kostya Tszyu did not earn his most noticeable scar on his face in the ring. He got a blood infection after popping a pimple. He had to undergo emergency surgery, after which the scar remained. In 2006, Tszyu took part in the Australian show Dancing with the Stars, but lost in the final round. He previously appeared as a guest in the first season of Australia's Next Top Model. In addition, Kostya Tszyu also played himself in the Australian TV series Home and Away and Deal or No Deal. In the same year, Tszyu became embroiled in an unpleasant story. The former managers of the boxer created an offshore trust structure. This way, they hid from taxes the money earned by Kostya in the ring. Tszyu had a hard time with losing and retiring from the sport. Even after the creation of Undisputed Tszyu, a company that trained coaches, it was difficult for him not to be in the main role. By the way, in an interview, Kostya said that his main goal for the coming years was to earn $100 million. In 2008, he presented his autobiographical book, Kostya and the Eternal Battle, and took part in the show Ice Age on Russian TV. Another project of Kostya was the opening of children's boxing schools in Australia named after him. The schools were successful, and the boxer thought about expanding and opening schools in Russia. In July 2009, based in the Fitness Mania Sports Club in Moscow, the first Russian boxing club by Kostya Tszyu was opened. It works with children, amateur athletes, and professional boxers. A few years later, Tszyu coached Alexander Povetkin, Denis Lebedev, and Khabib Alavadov. At the moment, the Kostya Tszyu Boxing Academy operates in Yekaterinburg. In 2010, the athlete headed the editorial office of the first electronic magazine about martial arts in Russia, Fight Magazine. Kostya Tszyu's business projects also include the DVD program Fitness with Kostya Tszyu, the Consulate Sportswear store in Yekaterinburg, the promotion of NL International, the Rosary from Herman Kabirsky, and the energy drink Tszyu, for which he received $1.3 million plus interest from sales. In June 2011, the boxer was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame as a person who made a contribution to the development of the sport. In 2012, Tszyu graduated with honors from the Ural Federal University with a degree in sports management and began writing his PhD thesis at the Department of Fundamentals of Physical Education of Tumen State University. While married, Kostya met Tatiana Averina. At first they talked about work. The girl became his assistant, but then the relationship turned into a romantic one. When Kostya's wife Natalia found out about the affair, the man did not deny anything. For several years, he lived a double life, not daring to finally go to Tatiana. It is worth saying that the discord in the family occurred back in 2005. After the end of Kostya's sports career, Natalia hoped that he would adjust to normal life and spend more time with his family. However, as before, their whole life was built around Kostya. In turn, he accused his ex-wife of not making enough effort to create comfort in the house. On December 3, 2013, the marriage of Kostya and Natalia Tszyu, which lasted more than 20 years, was officially dissolved. Natalia was encouraged to take the step by her son Timofey, who knew about the father's other woman. After the divorce, Kostya went to Moscow to live with Tatiana and left his ex-wife and children a 3-story mansion. In 2014, Kostya Tszyu became the host of the TV show Culinary Duel, in which a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law compete in the same kitchen. In 2015, Kostya Tszyu married Tatiana. In the same year, the couple had a son. Tszyu has been protecting his son for so long that journalists still don't know exactly what his name is, Sasha or Vova. A year later, the couple had a daughter, Victoria. Tatiana also has a son, Nikita, from a previous marriage. In 2016, the athlete had a vascular occlusion. He had a stent installed, which helped to prevent a heart attack. In the same year, the children's book The Adventures of Kostya Tszyu and His Friends was published. The athlete co-wrote it. In 2018, the boxer started his own YouTube channel, where he presented a new training program, Chess of Boxing. Now Kostya adheres to the principles of proper nutrition. He tries not to overeat, not to eat fat and carbs, and he drinks a lot of clean water. He regularly trains to keep fit, and in the summer of 2020, he challenged himself to a 30-day kettlebell marathon with the goal of lifting 235 kettlebells 50 times. Last year, Kostya was one of those who opposed the initiative to award the title of Hero of the Russian Federation to fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov. At the same time, he always spoke respectfully about Khabib as a very strong athlete. Kostya Tszyu also expressed his opinion about the sensational exhibition match of Mike Tyson. The Russian boxer said that he would not enter the ring for a small fee of $1 million. The boxer tries to avoid public events. He is more likely to spend time at home with his family or fishing with friends. Kostya Tszyu's income consists of the profits from business projects and advertising contracts. In addition to the Kostya Tszyu Boxing Academy, he's engaged in the production of merchandise under his own brand, Kostya Tszyu, which includes boxing gloves, t-shirts, caps, and accessories. In 2012, Kostya opened a restaurant of Asian cuisine, Lotka. Previously, cafes Aftergrill, Grillnaya, and snack bars Kardafan were opened under the brand Food from the Champion. The athlete also owns a 25% stake in the Kostya Tszyu Sports Academy, which produces vitamin and energy drinks for children and adults, mineral water, frozen uncooked food, and sweets under the Gladio brand. According to Forbes, the boxer has invested about $80 million in the project. In 2016, the company was held administratively liable and fined 20,000 rubles for the use of federal property without the consent of the owner. And in 2020, a bankruptcy lawsuit was filed against the company from MSK Bank, which is currently under consideration. The amount of the company's debt to the bank is not reported. Besides, the academy is suing the company Jazz. They filed lawsuits against each other for non-performance of obligations under a delivery contract. At different times, the athlete has been the ambassador of the residential complex Stolichny in the Moscow region, the car UAZ Patriot, and the medicine Anti-Grippin renamed Anvimax. On his Instagram account, Tszyu advertises the Korean cuisine restaurant Dom Kimchi, the beauty and health equipment Club Sante, and the forex broker Al Paris. Besides, for a certain amount of money, he allowed some sports palaces in Russia to be named after him. Kostya lives in a 3-room apartment in Moscow with his family. The interior of the apartment is decorated in warm beige and orange tones. In the Moscow region, Tszyu is building a house with an area of about 1,300 square feet. He also plans to build a sauna of 500 square feet on the property. Construction of another house is underway in the Crimea on a property in Alanevka, Chernomorsky region. It was reported that the athlete had problems with the construction team. They stole building materials from the construction site. In Australia, Kostya lived in a 3-story Snow White mansion with a total area of 6,500 square feet near the city of Sydney. Now the house belongs to other owners. The ex-wife sold it for $2 million and had bought it for $785,000. While living in Australia, Kostya Tszyu moved his parents and his sister to live with him. He also built a house for them. The first car of the boxer was the pride of the Soviet automobile industry, Vaz 2109, or the 9, which he drove for about a year, and then changed to another car of the same model. The athlete's car collection also included a Ford Laser donated by sponsors, a Lexus, a Porsche Cayenne, a Bentley Arnage, on which Kostya had the only accident in his life in 2001, a Toyota Camry, and a ruby black Toyota Land Cruiser 200 SUV. Someone tried to steal this car, and after that, Kostya installed bulletproof windows. For some time after returning to Moscow, the boxer moved around the city with a driver, and then started driving himself. And once Kostya participated in a Formula One racing competition, and received a special racing license for it. Most experts and boxing fans call Kostya Tszyu one of the strongest Russian boxers in history. Do you agree with this?